We're holding on Hey Amid Aleph. We are towards the bottom, but I suspect I shall say that we should do a little bit of a chazara. That's my suspicion. Does the Olam disagree?
I'm not anti a quick run through.
Not anti-quick run through. That's the politically correct way of saying it. I like that. Yeah, let's start from Bishlama. Very good. 10 lines from the wide lines. First one line is Asara v'nakat Bey. Bishlama. Says the Gemara. Bishlama Aroin Tish. We're trying to figure out that the height of a sukkah, minimum height is 10 tvach. Where we learn it out from? We learned from the Aron, because the Aron is 9 plus the Kapayris is 1. The minimal Rishos is at that 10 tefach mark. Why? Because that is where Hashem went down until there. Moshe Rabbeinu met over there at the 10 tefach junction. Says the Gemara. Bishlam, I understand the Aron Tish, that the Aron is 9 tefachim. Techsev, it says in the Torah of Aron, as a sheet, we're going to go drop faster because we did this. If it's too fast, you could stop me. Hey Amid Aleph, 8 lines from the bottom. First one line is Ve'ama. So Bishlam, Aron V'tish, Aron as a sheet, V'ama V'chetzi Rachman. V'ama V'chetzi Kamasli, it's an Amma and a half. An Amma is 6 tfachim. 6 plus a half of 6 is 6 plus 3 is 9 tfachim. Ella kapayres tefach minolan. How do we know that the kapayres is a tefach? Titani Rabbi Chanin. Kol hakelim shasa Moshe nasna bem Torah midas arkan umidas rachvan umidas kaimas. All the utensils that Moshe Rabbeinu made, we give the length, the width, and the height. Kapayres. When it comes to the lid of the Aron, Midas Arkai, the length is there. Midas Rachvai, the width is there. But Nasna, it's given. Midas Kaimasa, Lai Nasna. So say Ulamad, because the Torah does not explicitly list the height of the Kapayres, the lid of the Aron, go and learn it out from where? Mi Pachai Shabi Kelim, from the least, the smallest of the kelim. Shenemar says in the Torah, "V'asisa miskeres tefach." You should make a miskeres, a border around it, saviv, surrounding it. Mal halon, just like over there by the border, it is a tefach. Afghan tefach. We think that the smallest keli is the miskeres, the border around the aron, the shulchan, the mizbeach. Which one we're going to get to in a moment. So says the Gemara, Afghan tefach. Says the Gemara, asks the Gemara, in the last narrow line, why are you learning it out from the Miskeres? V'nelav mikelim gufayu. Why don't you learn from the keli itself? Why don't you learn from a larger measurement? You're assuming it's 1 tefach because of the border. Learn from the kelim. Says the Gemara, no. Tafasta meruba light tafasta. If you grab too much, you grab nothing. Tafasta muat. If you take hold of a little bit, then tafasta. Says the Gemara, okay, wait, if you want to go for the least, now ask the Gemara, v'nelev mitzis. Tzitz. So learn from the tzitz. Titani, you learned in a Braisa, tzitz daimek mintas. Shelzav, the tzitz was a plate of gold on the second wide line. V'rachav beis bois. The width was 2 fingers wide. Mukaf, and it went mi'oizen la'oizen, from ear to ear. V'kasav alav, and is written on the tzitz beis shitin. 2 shitim is a line. There are 2 lines on the tzitz. Yod Hey, Hashem was Milmala on the top. The Kadesh Lamed, and the Kadesh Lamed was Milmata. That's the first shita. V'amar Rav Elazar, Rav Yosi, that's not what it was. You know how I can prove it to you? Because I saw the tzitz, believe it or not. Ani re'isiv v'roimi. I was in Rome, maybe got a tour of the Vatican, wherever he was, and he saw the tzitz. And he said, V'kasav alav, and you know what was written on it? Kaidesh la'Hashem b'shita achas. On one line, okay, sidebar debate, what was written on the tzitz. But what do we see over here? How tall was the tzitz? 2 fingers length, not a tefach. So ask the Gemara, how do you know the kapayris was a tefach? Erev Tov, Rabbi Smith. Maybe it was 2 fingers tall Answers the Gemara on the fifth Y line. Done in Kli mi Kli. We learned one Kli from the next. Ve'eina done in Kli me tachshit. And we don't learn how to Kli from a tachshit, from jewelry, from an adornment. The tzitz wasn't a proper Kli. Asks the Gemara, okay, v'neil of mizer, the aroin, the mizbeach, had a zer. Why don't we learn out from there? De amar mar, as we have learned. Rabbi Maitalka Erev Tov, wonderful to see you. De amar mar, hey amar aleph, in the fifth very wide line. We're finishing up a chazara. De amar mar, the zer was a mashu, one little bit. Answers the Gemara, done in Kli mi Kli. You learn how to Kli the kapayras from a Kli. Vein done in Kli me hechsher Kli. And don't learn from a hechsher Kli. The zer, the crown, wasn't a proper Kli. It was a preparation, it was an auxiliary part of a Kli. So what's the obvious kasha? Ihachi miskaris nami. The border was also only an auxiliary part of a Kli. Hechsher Kli hu. Answers the Gemara, no. You know why the border was a proper Kli? Miskartai was limata. Haisa was underneath. If you remember the picture, there are the four legs, and then there's the border around it, which shows us it's an intrinsic part of the shulchan. And then on top of that was the plank, and that's where the breads went, etc. Says the Gemara, 1 second, but that's a machlokes. If you hold that the mascaris, the border was underneath, and you're right. But according to the man Amar that says the mascaris was not underneath the base of the shulchan, but rather lemalo hiso was on top of it. My ika lemeimar hi hechsher kliu. It's a hechsher. It's an auxiliary part of the kli. Says the Gemara, you're right. So why don't you learn from the tzitz? Eladanin davar shenasna by Torah mida. Midavar shenasna by Torah mida. We learn from something that the Torah listed as a measurement. The al yoichichu, 2 lines to the bottom, and don't ask from the tzitz or the zer. Why? Shaloi nasna bahen Torah mida. The Torah did not list a measurement. How do we know their measurement? Dine dira banan. Klal, as we pointed out from the bottom, taisvis, we know that the tzitz is 2 fingers because that's the average size of your forehead, but it's not a pasuk in the Torah. And that's the end of source number 1. So if we were to ask, how do we know a sukkah has to be at least 10 tfachim? It's from the aron. How do you know the aron is 10 tfachim? Well, 9 tfachim is a pasuk. The kapayres is a tefach. Why? Because we learn it from the misgaris. Why don't we learn it from other items, either because it's an auxiliary or because it's a tachshit, etc. Says the Gemara Ravuna Amar. Now we have a new piece of Gemara, the last line. Says Ravuna Mehacha, this is the source, that the kapayres is 1 tefach. Al penei kapayres kedma. Says the pasuk, on the face of the kapayres to the east. And what does it mean, the face of something? Says the Gemara, ve'ein panim, there's no face, pachais mitafach. Whenever the Torah says upon him, the bottom Rashi says the minimum size of a face is a tefach. Now, obviously, it's a little bit, this is a tefach, right? Tefach is 6 inches. That's a pretty teeny face, which is going to be part of what the Gemara is about to say, but...
So my baby's face.
Oh, the smallest size. Says the Gemara, Ve'ima, if it's just the size of a face, Ve'ima ka'ape devar yochni, as we turn over to Haman base, maybe it's the size of the face of a bird, and the kasha over here is the devar yochni, which is a large bird. It's actually funny that I've written in my Gemara, big bird. I don't think I meant big bird.
Giant bird.
Right, so I actually wrote in my Gemara, big bird. I don't think I understood the depth of what I wrote when I wrote it, but that's quite a deep line. Devar Yochli, big bird's face is Kinyan Hara. Kinyan Hara quite more next to me at Sesame Place. Start measuring the beak over there. But Dvar Yochni says the Gemara, if the whole thing is that it's a panim, so maybe it's the panim of a larger type of creature, which is more than a tefach. Answers the Gemara, Tefasta meruba lo tefasta. Don't grab too much again. Tefasta meruba tefasta. Veima asks the Gemara, Ka'ape ditza pirta. De zutar tuva. Maybe it means like the api, like the face of a tziparta, which is a teeny little bird, a very small bird, which is de zutar tuva. Zutar means small, which is very small. So says the Gemara, how do you know it means the size of a human face? Maybe it's a teeny little bird. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Huna Penei Gamar. He learned a Gzeras Shava. Ksivacha. It says by us, by the Arain, El Penei Akabayres. Uksiv Hasam. And it says over there, Apostle in Bereshis, Me'es Penei Yitzchak Aviv. He left from the face of Yitzchak, his father. So from the fact that it says Penei shows us what type of Penei, what type of face? A human being face. Ask the Gemara 1 second. V'neilaf mipanim shel maila. Maybe it doesn't mean a human face. Maybe it means an angel face. Tersev, the pasuk says, "Kerois pnei Elokim v'tirtzeini." They appear like the face of God, referring to the malachim, which are obviously larger. Says the Gemara, "Tafasta meruba lo tafasta." Again, you can't take a bigger measurement. Tafasta mu'at tafasta. Says the Gemara, okay, you want a small measurement? V'neil of mikrov. Learn out from the Keruvim, which had small faces. Tersev, elaka pires yihu, Pnei Akruvim. So we see that the Keruvim are also called Pnei. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Gemiri. Halach l'Moshe Sinai. Ein Pnei Keruvim, psuch mitavach. The face of the Keruvim were at least a tefach. Period. Ask the Gemara, Rav Huna nami mehacha gamar, and Rav Huna as well could learn out from here. Again, what did Rav Huna say? Rav Huna was 3 lines from the top. He said Penei gamar. He said it's Gzeira Shava. Umay Kurov, says the Gemara. Amar Rav Avua Kiravya Shekin beBavel Kairin Lianuka Rabia. They call a child a Ravya, and that's all we're going to know, that it's the Penei of the Kravya, that the size of the tefach like a little child. As someone here pointed out, I think Menachem, you said, that's going to be the smallest size of a face. Amar le Abaye, 1 second. Elameyato d'chsef Penei echad Penei akrov Penei asheni Penei adam. Ask the Gemara, what's going on? Hainu krov, Hainu adam. Meaning, the pasuk seems to say that the 2 kruvim had different size faces. So was it a krov or was it an adam? Answers the Gemara, Ape Ravravi va'ape Zutra. Man has a large face, a krov has a small face, and therefore, at the end of the day, that's where we learn out the kapayris is a tefach. Why? El Penei HaKapayres Pinma. It says the face of the kapayres. And we're learning out, it's the face of the Kruvim, which was a tefach, or the face of a small child, which is a tefach. Now, after finally figuring out that the minimum size of a sukkah is 10 tefachim, says the Gemara, how do you measure that 10 tefachim? Well, what's the question? Well, your sukkah has walls, and your sukkah has schach. Is the schach part of your measurement or not? Always when you measure, you can measure from the outside, we can measure from the inside. Is it 10 tfachim of interior space or 10 tfachim of the outside, the top of the schach? And what this will conclude. Omimai de chalala. Ask the Gemara. And how do you know the halal is the airspace? Umay de chalala is asara, is 10 tfachim bar mischacha, excluding the schach. Bar is excluding. Ema, let us suggest behade schacha. Maybe it doesn't mean excluding the schach. Maybe it means including the schach. Says the Gemara, Elam mi beis oilamim gomer. Let's learn it out from the Beis Hamikdash. Techsev, it says by the Beis Hamikdash, V'abayis asher bana hamelech Shlomo Lashem. The house that Shlomo HaMelech made for God. Shishim Amma Arka was 60 amos long. V'esrim Amma Rachma 20 amos wide. Shlosh Amma Kamasle 30 amos tall. Uksev, and it says, Koimas HaKrov Echad. One krov was eser ba'ama, 10 amos. B'chena krov hasheni, and so to the second krov. V'tanya, we learned in a brayso. Okay, this is no, we're gonna have to stop here. This is gonna get heavy in the math, and I don't want to get everyone lost in the math. Merchant will pick it up from here. Let's try. We have 2 minutes. If anyone wants to try to read through the Gemara we just did from the bottom, really what we just did tonight is Rav Huna Amar Mehacha, which is the very bottom of Hey Amid Aleph through Mimia Mai, these top 15 lines, and Amir Hashem will send it a Chazara, and then next week we will pick it up from the math over here. Probably will only be on one time next week, unless Dylan wants to. Tuesday is up to you, because Wednesday we're going to be having a shtickle Tu B'Shvan Matziv at this time, Mistama.
It's happening.
No, I just don't know the time. That's
Okay.
Mistama.
Probably going to be after Mark.
Half the board is there, so we can figure it out.
Chayra.
Only